Episode 3 of Star Trek Picard has released, and finally, Jean-Luc Picard has assembled most of his motley crew and has finally left for the stars. This episode was filled with Easter eggs, so here are some details you might have missed from Picard Episode 3, The End is the Beginning. Hey everyone, my name's Commander Brie, and welcome to Trek Central. As a warning, this video will contain spoilers for Star Trek Picard Season 1, Episode 3, and you have been warned. The series is a brand new launch into modern Star Trek content, but even so, that doesn't mean that we've left the past behind. Throughout this episode, there are many references to Trek that has come before Picard, as well as a few other details that you might have missed. So we've picked out around 20 details to tell you about today, so let's jump into it. Raffi refers to Picard as JL. Now this really nicely underlines how different their relationship is to that of Picard and Riker. This was first seen in the Picard Countdown comic. Raffi suggests to Picard about the use of Starfleet Reserve officers. There is a little-known Starfleet regulation known as the Reserve Action Clause. The clause states that an officer in good standing may reinstate a discharged officer in an emergency. This clause has only been seen twice within Star Trek. In Star Trek the Motion Picture, where McCoy is drafted back into Starfleet, and in the short trek Ask Not, during a drill to test a cadet, in which Pike suggests to the cadet that he could be drafted. Raffi also suggests the use of mothballed ships. She has gathered inventories from Beta Antares and Eridani A. The Beta Antares shipyard was mentioned in the Voyager episode Message in a Bottle. The USS Prometheus was launched from this shipyard, actually. Eridani A probably refers to the 40 Eridani A Starfleet construction yards, located in the Vulcan system. Now, it seems that the synth workers on Mars are known as A500s. Data was known as a Soong-type android, and knowing Maddox, I'm sure he wouldn't want his name attached to any android unless they were as good as Data. So, the almost tool-like name of the A500s fits perfectly. We get confirmation that Raffi lives near Vasquez Rocks, the famous filming location for many alien worlds in Star Trek. It's actually quite nice to see the Vasquez Rocks as the Vasquez Rocks, and not pretending that we're looking at a different alien planet. Dr. Jurati is listening to Caecilian Opera, a favorite of Hugh Culber from Star Trek Discovery. It is the exact same recording as Hugh plays for Stamets, but it's really nice to find these little pieces of connective details between Picard and Discovery. Commodore O is seen looming over Jurati in a uniform and sunglasses. This is meant to be a reference to a French film La Petite Soldat, and O is meant to be like Anna Karenina, according to a page of the script that Michael Chabon posted to Instagram. What's interesting to note is that La Petite Soldat was written and directed by Jean-Luc Godard, a very similar name to a famous Starfleet captain of the Enterprise. And no, I'm not talking about James T. Kirk. In the file that Raffi was looking at, one of the variables in the code was labeled GNDN. This little detail harkens back to the set of the original series in which pipes were labeled as GNDN, standing for Goes Nowhere, Does Nothing. This has been seen in numerous Star Trek series, so I'm glad it's continued into Picard. While Raffi is digging through the files, she spots a crypto algorithm with the title Gorn Egg. After learning that showrunner of Picard, Michael Chabon, has a black velvet painting of a Gorn, all of the Gorn references make a lot more sense now. Not only do we see an emergency medical hologram, but we also meet an emergency navigational hologram. The further use of holograms to fulfill emergency functions aboard a starship is probably a natural evolution from the Doctor from Voyager, an EMH wishing to improve himself by becoming the emergency command hologram. The ENH lists all of Picard's achievements: chief contact with the Q continuum. Picard met Q, an omnipotent being, numerous times throughout the Next Generation, and was even representing the whole of humanity in a trial against the Q continuum. Arbiter of succession for the Klingon Empire. When Chancellor Kompek of the Klingon Empire was poisoned, he named Picard to become his arbiter of succession and to decide the next leader of the Klingon Empire, due to him trusting Picard and due to their earlier meetings in the Next Generation. Savior of Earth from the Borg invasion. Picard not only saved Earth from the Borg invasion during the episode The Best of Both Worlds, when he was assimilated and turned into Locutus of Borg, but also in the movie First Contact when he went back in time to stop the Borg from stopping first contact between humans and Vulcans. Captain of the Enterprise D and E. After the destruction of the Enterprise D in the movie Generations, Picard was given command of the USS Enterprise E, a Sovereign-class starship. And finally, mentioning his work alongside the Great Spock, seen in episodes Reunification, where Picard helps Spock with the Romulan-Vulcan reunification movement. All of these are nice little nods to the character of Picard and his many accomplishments. The Tragic Sense of Life by Miguel de Unamuno is an important philosophical work by a famous Spanish writer. Interesting that Rios not only reads such books, but also mentions in his introduction that he has read some of Picard's books, who we know has written history books during his retirement. Rios's former ship, the one that he was a first officer on, was the Uss Eben Majeed. Ahmed Eben Majeed was an Arabian navigator and cartographer. The Eben Majeed isn't the only ship to have been purged from the records. Not only was the USS Discovery said to have officially blown up at the battle against Control, but the investigation into the mutiny and destruction of the USS Pegasus was classified and covered up as well. We learn a lot about the Romulan culture and tradition in this episode. As Ramda makes her pikshmet, we're told that a chapon is a false door. Traditional Romulan houses have a false front door, alluding to the Romulan fact that nearly everything is a secret, apparently. It seems that even the twins, which stems from the Hindu mythology and has permeated through many Earth mythologies, has a counterpart in Romulan mythology as well. Ramda asks Soji which twin she is, and then proceeds to call her the Seb Sheneb, the Destroyer. And finally, one of the Zhat Vash, which Picard's gang captures, calls Picard a Kish Chin, which is a Romulan swear word. While Soji is questioning Ramda about what happened to the Borg cube and what caused the submatrix collapse, which separated it from the Borg collective, her badge flashes green. In a previous episode, the Romulan supervisor told the researchers that if their badge ever flashed green, that they were in trouble and should run. I wonder what triggers the badge to activate. Might it be detecting the intentions of the XBs? Hopefully we'll find out soon. In episode 2, and within the Countdown comics, we find out that Zhaban and Laris were former Tal Shiar agents. And they are just the most befitting former secret operatives. They have phasers littered all around the house just in case. And we get to see how proficient in combat they are against the Zhat Vash when they attack Chateau Picard. What is also nice is that before Zhaban can strike their captive, Laris stops him and says, "We're not like them anymore," which just shows how different Laris and Zhaban have become. Laris describes the captured Zhat Vash as being similar to Zhaban in that they are stubborn northerners. Another similarity between the two is that Laris does not share their forehead ridges. Could this be then that northern Romulans have forehead ridges while southern Romulans have smooth foreheads? This would be a neat way to add more depth to the Romulan people and also tie in that Romulans have various looks throughout Star Trek history. Laris tells Dr. Girardi that Romulan disruptors do not have a stun setting. This is kind of consistent with the canon, as according to the novelization of the Star Trek TNG episode Unification Part 2, Romulan disruptors have no stun setting. High settings will vaporize the target, while low settings will cause their organs to explode. Lovely! The 3D display interface that Rios uses to control the La Sirena might even be a reference to an episode in Deep Space Nine, The Visitor. And old Julian Bashir says, "I haven't operated a two-dimensional control panel in a long time." Now, this episode takes place in the year 2422 in an alternate timeline. It is pretty cool then that Picard's evolution of technology is referenced in Deep Space Nine. And there you have it. Those are all the details, Easter eggs, and things that generally might have been missed in Star Trek Picard Episode 3. If you spotted anything we missed, feel free to let us know via the comment section below. We're back with all new Star Trek Picard content all week, so stay tuned for more. And if you're looking for a discussion around Star Trek Picard Episode 3, then tune in to Trek Central Live on Sundays at 9 p.m. GMT, right here. If you like this video and you want to keep up to date with all things Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to subscribe to us here on Trek Central on YouTube. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates, as well as visit our website for weekly articles. We also have our community Discord server, so come join the party to talk about all the new Trek we're getting. For now, I've been Commander Brie. Thank you for watching Trek Central. I hope you enjoyed the series, and I will of course see you very soon.